you guys are going to Vegas this week. Booker, one of the last times we spoke, Reality of Wrestling was doing an event in Vegas. You told me the
Yeah.
city had a special place. You did a honeymoon there. You shared some stories about what the city meant to you. What's it mean to get a chance to go back and do a little bit of a different event? You're doing a live podcast meet and greet. It's Friday, September 29th. Talk about the event coming up and, getting a chance to go back to Vegas again.
Yeah, when I think of Vegas, I guess the first memory that come to my mind is meeting Joe Jackson, Michael Jackson's dad and his wife, and it was so awesome, because I was a young Booker T back then at the MGM Grand. I remember running in the Frankie Valley in the in the MGM Grand one day as well with my brother. So it's always had a special place with me. And now to be able to do an event in Vegas, we've done one before, which was a really awesome event, the first event ever done in the MGM Grand from an independent perspective. And now we're hoping to go back in December and do something really big as well. We're just trying to create something special with Reality of Wrestling. We're a small company, but we're growing exponentially, and to be able to let young people see, what they can do, I think is my pride and joy. I think that's where I get my strength from, working with young people. And this weekend, there again, we have actually tonight, we have a grand opening at our new building, the next chapter, Reality of Wrestling, the next chapter. And we got two NXT stars that's going to headline the event, Axiom and Charlie Dempsey, which I give those guys high praise, and for them to be a part of Reality of Wrestling for one night is, it's special. It really truly is. And for me, the journey is just beginning, though. The journey is just beginning. I just want to see exactly how far we can go. I just say, ask God to, give me enough time to finish my work.
Any special plans you have outside of the podcast and the meet and greet?
In Las Vegas, we're going to be doing a meet and greet in the podcast at Planet 13, which is, I that's something that's really near and dear to me also, as far as representing, something like cannabis. So many people avoided cannabis for so many years. And I've been in the wrestling business for now over 30 years. And I remember seeing, so many of my friends, go down that journey, go down that road, taking those pills and whatnot. And I just wondered how would it have been if they could have done cannabis. Probably could have saved a lot of guys' lives along the way. So I just promote these young kids, man, these young guys staying away from, medical drugs, because those are some of the biggest, pitfalls you can fall in this business, is getting trapped. And I was just listening to Kurt Angle, and I think he said he took 2,700 pills a month. Mm-hmm. And that right there, when I saw that, I go, man, Kurt Angle's a really good friend of mine. And to see him go down that road and that journey, which perhaps could have been avoided, if he could have taken cannabis, So for my partner and I, Brad Gilmore, to be doing our podcast at Planet 13, to let everyone see what the Hall of Fame podcast is all about, because we're not just about wrestling. We're not just about, boxing, and MMA. We're about life and trying to change people's lives at the same time.
Yeah, that was the Joe Rogan podcast, I think, that Kurt was on.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
yeah.
I saw some of it, and the one that really, the whole thing was, kind of eye-opening, but he said that he overdosed the night before he did an Iron Man match with Brock Lesnar, which is just still kind of like, I haven't wrapped my head around that. Like, so I'm just glad he's doing better now. He kind of came out the other side of that. But more to your point, yeah, I think it's really great to see cannabis be a viable option. Hopefully, overall wrestlers don't get stuck in the positions that maybe some of the other people that had those issues with don't.
Well, I could tell you it's so easy to fall into those pitfalls, because I tell you, it wasn't that I wasn't in the room when it happened. I just was able to make myself, unavailable and say, hey, look, I'm going to take myself out of this scene. I was in the room when the cocaine came out. I was in the room when the pills came out. I was in the room when all of that stuff was happening. But for me, I said, I had seen it before as a kid, and it's something, a road that I knew I didn't want to go down, but it only takes one time. We see so many kids today dying from, thinking they're taking an oxycodone pill or something, and it's laced with fentanyl, and boom, they're. I met a kid just not too long ago. We did an event, and he took one fentanyl pill, and now he's in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. Literally just screwed his whole body up. So to be able to drive young people into the right direction, because just say, for instance, alcohol. We've been pushing alcohol for so many years, and we know how bad alcohol really, really, truly is. And to be able to step up and actually say something about it, I just think is so important for people like myself in my position to let people know that it's not as harmful as people have thought for so many years.
Mm-hmm. The next chapter, you mentioned that as we're recording, it's going to take place tonight. I saw the preview, the new ROW arena. There's a lot of excitement about the event. You mentioned Charlie Dempsey and Axiom are going to be there. I'll pose the question to both of you. What are you looking forward to about this next chapter, figuratively and literally, like for Reality of Wrestling? What can fans expect from the event? What about the rest of the year that you're most excited about?
Well, for me, I feel like this is a new beginning for Reality of Wrestling. Tonight's event is going to be the kickoff to something totally different, even though, no pun intended, we are going to be having a kickoff show that's going to be starting at 6 o'clock, going to 7 o'clock. But we're going to try to bring something different to our show on a monthly basis and try to make it like an event, a show every month, where people can tune in and go, wow, this is something a little bit different than I've watched before from an independent perspective, because we're not an independent wrestling company. We're a small television company, and we're trying to produce the best we possibly can. We look at ourselves as the AAA of professional wrestling, but we want to be the best AAA we possibly can be and produce the best stars for tomorrow. So for me, it's about who's going to break out tonight and show me something. As Vince McMahon would say, who's going to reach for that brass ring?
and I think from my perspective, Bill, going this November will be my 11th year with Reality Wrestling. And when I started with the company, we were in a recreation center where you could see basketball goals in the background, right? That we would try to cover up as best we could. And to go from that to fast forward a decade plus later and to have our own facility that is built in the same way that the NXT Performance Center would be built, with rings and equipment and promo classes and training referees, training commentators, training announcers, having the LED screens set up just for television is incredible for me to see. And that's also why I say about Reality of Wrestling, there are a lot of great schools that you can go train to be a pro wrestler, right? There are a lot of great places you can go to wrestle and learn your craft. There's no place in the country, maybe even the world, that has what Reality of Wrestling has to offer, where you have a Hall of Fame coach, you have people who sat under his learning tree and able to give new students the lessons that he's given them and learn about television production. You wonder why people like Roxanne Perez has flourished in NXT. Well, it's because when she went there, it wasn't anything new to her. She had been there before because she had the reps at Reality of Wrestling. She knew what the television time was. She knew how to work a hard cam. She knew, what she needed to do as far as a promo goes in front of a live house. None of that was new to her. And so I'm excited for this new chapter, the next chapter, to have more stars like that in this environment.
Charlie Dempsey and Axiom were two of the names that are going to be there tonight. This isn't the first time that this talent exchange has happened. Can you talk a little bit about maybe how that works? Like, do you have your eye on anybody, or, you know, is it they send some names over to you, vice versa? Like, how does that work where you,
Well, first of all, I got my eye on everybody. But I'm looking for the talent, and I'm not looking for the best talent, you know, in the locker room. I'm not looking for the worst talent in the locker room. I'm looking for the guys that I could work with. I'm looking for guys just looking for help as well. If it's guys in NXT and they're just sitting on the sideline and I'm there every week and they don't come ask me any questions, they won't be coming to reality wrestling. But I'm looking for the guys that's looking to get better, wondering what did it take to get to that next level, but more importantly, what did it take to stay at that next level? Because when you get in this business and you don't look at it as a business, it could be very swift, it could be very quick. But when you look at it as a job, like you're putting your hard hat on and your boots, and you know you got, you know, somebody on your heels that's looking to take your job, you look at it from a totally different perspective. And I'm looking for young men and young women that have that aptitude to want that. And there's so many of them down in NXT that I hope to work with here at Reality of Wrestling, and just, you know, what we say in the business, just give them the rub, you know, try to give them just that little bit of knowledge that, you know, sometimes young people just need a pat on the back, you know, and told that they can do this, you know. So for me, I'm a motivator, and for me, I'm living my best life. I really am.
It's a little bit of a tough week this past week. I know you covered it on Friday's episode. So I would say anybody that wants more of Booker's thoughts on what happened with NXT or with the talent cuts, go check out that episode, because I think there's some pretty good insight, especially about guys like Dolph Ziggler, Shelton Benjamin. But, you know, you cover it pretty much in depth. I would encourage everybody to go check that out. Brad, I know you're a big Back to the Future fan.
Yes.
I don't know. What's that?
I see your almanac behind you.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure you spotted that right away.
I did.
I don't know why I thought of this, but have you, how much do you try to get Booker involved in the lore, or like just being a fan of that franchise? Because I know it's important to you, but is Booker like a movie buff?
Well, Booker's a huge movie buff. I think that a lot of people might be surprised about that. Some of his most iconic lines and phrases have been ripped off of the silver screen and repurposed and almost now reattributed to him in a lot of ways. But as far as Back to the Future goes, Booker is a Back to the Future fan.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that wasn't something I had to even coach him on or you know, push him toward. You've always been a Back to the Future
but just
fan.
not as much as Brad.
Not as much as me.
Brad's the geek.
Yeah,
Right?
I will own that 100%. I will own that. But, you know, I mean, Book's definitely a huge movie buff, and I think that's one of the reasons that Booker and I are kind of so good together in a lot of ways, even though you know, on paper you might think that we come from completely different worlds, but we like the same music. A lot of the times we like the same movie. A lot of the times we have the same interests outside of pro wrestling, which is what brought us together. So yeah, he's a big movie buff.
The Warriors is the big one, the Can You Dig It? But
yeah. Everybody think that's where Can You Dig It came from, but it really didn't. It came from Shaft. Richard Roundtree back in the day. I was a huge Richard Roundtree fan. Actually, when I did my documentary, the beginning of my documentary is based off of the movie Shaft. If you go back and watch it, music from Isaac Hayes playing in the background, you know. So, yeah, most definitely, big fan.
All right, so
Purple Rain on NXT.
I got called out on it too on Twitter.
On X.
On X.
I'm sticking with Twitter. I can't do it. So Brad, is there a line from the trilogy that you would give Booker to like sort of adopt as a catchphrase?
Like try to start getting over, like on commentary, maybe. I don't know.
Something that, you know.
Well, my favorite line isn't anything Booker would ever say, because but my favorite line from Back to the Future is in Back to the Future 1. They're at the dinner table in 1955, and And Marty's future grandfather says he's an idiot. It comes from upbringing. His parents are probably idiots too, right? Which is like my favorite line from the whole movie. But I don't know. I'd have to think.
That's the Lawler line.
That's a Lawler line. It's not. That really didn't fit Book's modus of operandi.
Yeah.
But I'd have to think on that one of a really good one that he could use. You could use This Is Heavy. You could drop a Great Scott on
Oh
commentary.
yeah, I could do that. Great Scott.
That's what I'm saying. Great Scott.
Great Scott. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm using that. I'm using that next week.
All right. Book to the future.
Book to the future. I like it.
We got
But
it.
but this is kind of the talk that Booker was saying about our show. And yeah, we're excited to be there at Planet 13. We're also going to be covering the Canelo Alvarez and Jermell Charlo fight out there in Las Vegas.
Yes.
And to Booker's point earlier about a lot of the boys, we're here in Texas where cannabis isn't recreationally legal, but and I'm not a user, but I will say I see the benefits of it for a lot of athletes, especially from the CBD side of things, which is legal in the state of Texas. So many guys who have injuries, inflammation, battling even anxiety, you see that the CBD has done wonders for them. Even a couple drops under the tongue. You hear Governor Jesse Ventura talk about what it did for him and for his significant other, his wife, I believe, is who it is, who was battling seizures. So from that perspective and the medicinal effects of it that it can do for athlete recovery is definitely something that I think that we should continue to push for, because the reason why so many of the guys back in Booker's day, thankfully Booker didn't go down that road, but so many guys did with the painkillers, is because, this ain't ballet, to quote somebody. I mean, this hurts.
Yeah.
And for a lot of these young guys and girls who are now having to tour, even at the independent level, they're getting in a car right after they work in San Antonio to drive to Dallas, then back to Houston. You do a show in Galveston, you're going up to Abilene and then to Lubbock, all within a few weeks span. Recovery is key. And you don't want to see people go down that same path that so many others did in the past. So in Texas, CBD is something that I definitely think every athlete should check out for recovery. But again, we're just excited to be out there in Las Vegas. This is Booker and I's second home in a lot of ways. We're out there 4 or 5 times. It feels like a year doing our radio show, doing the Hall of Fame. And this time is going to be special because we're going to be in a different environment and just, talking about Shaft and Back to the Future and all the things in between.
Friday, September 29th, that goes down. The live podcast is 1 to 2 p.m., I believe, Mountain Time, local time. Meet and greets at 2 to 3 p.m. We were just talking about catchphrases. I'll end on this one. Booker, where did Hottie Biscotti come from?
It's my favorite one of his, by the way.
Hottie Biscotti actually came from the Jodi Arias murder case.
Okay, wasn't expecting that one.
This took a left turn.
Yeah, really.
Actually,
I was like, we're gonna end on a
that
fun
was her.
note. This is like,
That was her term for the guy that was the name, Travis Alexander, I think.
okay.
That was her term for him, her Hottie Biscotti, and I was like, man, that sounds pretty cool. So I said, I'm gonna steal that. Yeah.
Take from a murder case and repurpose for good.
Yeah, really. Like, credit to you. Right? Credit to you. Taking a true crime.
I love true crime too. That's one of my favorite things to talk about as well as watch.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys for your time today. Covered a lot. Anything else you guys want to promote before we get out of here?
Just check out Reality of Wrestling, which is really the lifeblood of everything that we do. Our YouTube channel passed 700,000 subscribers. We're trying to make that march to 1 million. We are the premier wrestling company, in the Gulf Coast. And if you're at an independent level and you want to learn, the television way of doing this business, which is what you're working toward as a professional wrestler, this is the only place in the entire country where you can get the real feel of what this business really truly is all about, under the expert tutelage of the 2-time Hall of Famer, the former world champion, one of the most decorated professional wrestlers in the history of the game, Booker T. So we definitely want to always make mention of that.
Go to realitywrestling.com.
That's the short version of that too.
Okay. All right. Best of luck tonight. I hope we get a chance to talk in December. I hope, things work out. You go back to Vegas for that event. I'd love to hear more. Have a great afternoon. This has been fun.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. We appreciate it.